So after a full week of shooting 6 to 8 hours a day in South Korea, I couldn't wait to get back to shoot a calm, relaxed shoot in studio. And I wanted to shoot with the Hasselblad again because I was, dying to shoot with the camera. I didn't take the Hasselblad with me on the trip because it just wasn't the right camera for the trip, but I really missed it when I was there. So I was looking forward to that as well. So I'm shooting with the FJ80 version 2 again, but I purchased that light dome myself because I really wanted to try this on this FJ80. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. It's a hard dome and it snaps in. It's not the magnetic, of course, because of that. I guess it's a copyright infringement thing where they had to, change everything on the front of the FJ80 version 2. The nice part is they give you the magnetic thing if you have the original FJ80. So you can use this with either FJ80 or FJ80 II. That being said, it's a hard dome. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and I do like it. Spoiler. After using it for a little bit, I love the light quality. Now, because I'm shooting in the studio, I have white walls, a black ceiling. The white walls are close enough, and I have the V-flat on top of it, that this light is bouncing everywhere. So I'm getting a happy medium between hard light, because it's a small modifier, and fill light, because it's bouncing all over the walls. It works out pretty well. And I do love the light quality from it. The more I used it, the more I liked it. Now, I'm shooting at power 7.5, I believe, through this whole thing, and I was at ISO 100. So, and f3.4, by the way. So, I shot wide open on the lens. That's wide open for the Hasselblad 75 millimeter. Obviously, you're going to have a much lower power if you're shooting wide open with a 1.4 lens or something like that. But, for me, I love trying these flashes out in these type situations where, I'm using a higher power and I want to see how long this flash is going to last. Now, we shot about an hour and a half, and I think I was down to 3/4 power with the battery at the end. So that's pretty impressive considering the power output that I was using. During an event or something like that, this flash would be obviously a lot less power because I would be shooting at higher ISOs. But in studio, I'm shooting all manual. Now, I have tried this flash on the Hasselblad with a Nikon remote because Hasselblad uses Nikon TTL system, and it was just very okay. I wouldn't trust it in TTL mode at an event or something like that. But, there's a lot of Nikon TTL systems, third party, that just don't work with Hasselblad. Some do, some don't. Even the Godox, the new X3, that has like this weird 10-second delay before it fires. It works, but after you push the shutter, you have to wait 10 seconds before the thing actually goes off, which is really strange to me. I have no idea what it is. Hopefully they have a firmware update to fix that with the X3 Nikon remote. Anyway, getting back to this. Now, why go into a Westcott lighting system? There's, whether you use Godox or Profoto or, branded flashes, it's completely up to you and what you're looking for. The Westcott system is a nice system because, number one, they're based here in the United States out of Ohio, I believe it is. So if you have issues, you can get it repaired quickly. There's no issues with that. Now, I know Godox is pushing for more in-state repairs, or you can go with the Flashpoint through Adorama and have that repair service. But service for me, especially with flashes, because I use them so often, is kind of important, and I don't want to make these things disposable. Even though they're $350 compared to, say, a Profoto that's $1,000 for the same flash, I don't want to say, okay, well, just throw it away and get another one. If something breaks or there's an issue with one of the lights, I want to be able to send it into service and get it repaired, even if it's out of warranty. I'd rather spend, $50 or $75 versus $350 for another flash. Now, that's quite the opposite with Profoto, because if a Profoto A10 breaks, and it's out of warranty, I don't even care if it's the flash tube. You're looking at a $500 bill for the repair. That's just who Profoto is, which is, why I use other flash systems as well. Now, getting back to this flash, I'm just playing with it and moving it all over the place. Again, this is a fishing trip for me. In other words, when I'm not shooting for a living, my hobby is photography. And that's both a blessing and a curse, I would say. But I never get burnt out. I hear a lot of YouTube photographers saying, they're burnt out or they're lost their creativity or something like that. I never do. And even, I do have bad shoots. Don't get me wrong. Like sometimes I'll just have a bad shoot because I'm just not in the zone of shooting. But I take that and look at those images as a positive, and I think that's more helpful than a good shoot because, don't just discard the whole shoot and say, "Oh, it was just a bad shoot." Move on. Look at the images and say, "What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Where could I have moved that light, or how could I have shot differently to improve this?" Those bad shoots help so much in your journey for getting better at photography and getting better at lighting. So, take advantage of those bad times. Don't just say, I'm burnt out or I lost my jive, whatever you want to say. Take advantage of it and say, okay, let's fix what I did wrong for the next shoot and make sure I can make it better. I had a couple bad shots like this one where, the light was just too hot. Obviously I could have fixed that in post and brought that highlight down and brought up the shadows a little bit. But I want to show you the good with the bad and, the mistakes I make. Now, this light dome is impressive, and I like that I can just feather it past the front of her like it was a large modifier. So I'm feathering across the front of her, pushing it into that V-flat. I mean, it could have been the white wall for all that matters. And it softens it in that side, but I'm still getting that happy medium of hard and soft light all at once, which I love. Remember, like when your shadows are deep like that, not completely deep, but deep, and you try to pull them out a little bit, you're going to have some color shifts. But this light is really decent with color. Again, $1,000 pro photo light. If you go from a 10 power to a 5 power, you're getting a huge color shift every single time. And that's $1,000 light. This one is what, $350? I don't get any color shifts. It was solid throughout this shoot. I was very happy with the color balance of it. I didn't have to do much in post-production at all, other than when I did a deep shadow on one side or, more of a contrasty look. So I like that. Now, again, this is the second time I'm using the FJ80 version 2 for a YouTube video. I've used it more for, just regular work. And I do like it because I have two lights of the, they're smaller speed lights, the one without the touchscreen and this one. And I like them both. I do like the battery power. It did, last quite a bit. I'm happy with it. I like the dome. I think it's a good purchase for this light. Now I'm using it in an umbrella because I just wanted to show you, this in an umbrella because it was able to fill the umbrella just a little bit more than a bare tube would. And I love the look of this. This is the small deep umbrella. I love small deep umbrellas. I love the translucence as well to shoot through, but the small deep for me, I can control the light quite a bit. Not perfectly like you would with a softbox and a grid, but I can control the light quite a bit with this. And, I didn't even have to move this light down, by the way, when she went to the ground. I just left it where it was, and it's still giving me full coverage. I think I lowered my shutter speed from 1/60th or 200th to 1/60th, to bring in just a little bit more light. Other than that, the ambient, not anything else. Now, the ambient didn't play much of a role in these photos. It filled a little bit in, but it's not like the window light. I'm using an LED behind me, for the video itself, and it added just a little tiny bit of light to these photos, but nothing, major or nothing that would have changed if I shut it off completely. But I wanted light in the studio for the video itself, and the remote. I was worried about the remote that Westcott has because it's bigger. I love those small remotes, but this one lays flat, and that made all the difference in the world for me. I was very happy with the remote, and I love that you can just switch this from system to system. If you're using Canon, just set it to Canon. If you're using Nikon, just set it to Nikon. I love that fact. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this shoot. This was my comeback shoot. It was, just a lot of fun. And thanks for watching as always.